I expect the most memorable thing about it started when I was discharged back in 1946. And when I left Fort Bliss, Texas, I thought, boy, oh boy, I'm leaving all these good friends of mine. It was quite a traumatic time for me for several weeks or months after I got home. I felt like I needed to be back where I was, back with those other people, back in the camp where discipline was absolute.
First, you did a lot of reminiscing, thinking back about some things you really didn't like to think about. You thought about people that you hadn't thought about in a long time. And it just gave you just a different feeling on this trip. We were honored, and you could feel it, and we appreciate it.
I had seen some of the memorials before, but this was just certainly special. I took a friend of mine, Thad McCants, who had been in law school with me, and the two of us kind of shared some of our stories together, and I knew a lot of the other veterans, and we had a great time visiting with them.
It really wasn't a trip. Riding out there was, but really it was something more than the trip.
The Honor Flight Experience, a celebration nearly 70 years in the making, too late for many and just in time for some. A chance to say thank you, a chance to say we have not forgotten and we will never forget.
I have a grandfather who was in World War II, and it had meant a great deal to me to show respect to his generation and to his service by giving something back.
The day begins at 1 a.m. As the coffee is poured, new friendships are formed. Tales are told and memories emerge. A short walk to the bus, and the rest of the story begins.
I was in the Navy, yes, and did my duty in the South Pacific. My group was a special task group, and we were experimenting with pilotless aircraft.
I finished my basic training just before Christmas of 1944. And if you'll remember that, it's a landmark time in the history of our country. That was the Battle of the Bulge. I missed that by 2 weeks. If I would have been 2 weeks earlier, I would have gone there and probably still be there.
I started out as a regular artillery officer and then applied for flight training, and I didn't get into the actual shooting in World War II. I got sent to Europe, and I was in the Army of Occupation over there. And so I didn't get shot at in that war. I did later in the Korean War.
We were in Patton's Army. My other two brothers were in the Navy. And one of my brothers, their destroyer escort got sunk on the invasion day out in the English Channel. And he was one of about a third of the people that survived.
Some are flying for the first time in their lives. Some haven't flown in decades. Some may never fly again.
Right here, this man right here.
But on this day, the sky is the limit for the depth of gratitude expressed by those along the way.
When we went into Baltimore, I couldn't believe how many people came out to see a bunch of old soldiers. Truly, they were glad we were there, glad they got to see us.
We got off the bus at the World War II Memorial, and it was still kind of drizzling, and they lined us up for a picture, and some guy stepped in beside me, and I looked over, and here was Senator Bob Dole.
See how happy these guys are? I mean, it's probably the greatest thing that's happened to them, I'll bet, in 20 years.
The memorials have been built for them. Something has been built for them. It waits for them. They need to see it, and we need to be the vehicle to take them there, we being all the people in America who want to say thank you to them. It's our obligation to make sure they make that trip there free to see what was built for them. It's just waiting for them.
It's very beautiful. It's a wonderful place. Really wonderful.
We had some funny times on the way, but we got to see the memorial, and that's what it was all about. And I just so tickled to get to see it, and it is impressive. It is impressive. I guess even the word awesome would be even better, but it's a wonderful experience.
Many of these heroes served in 2 or 3 wars, lives dedicated to service, and as they traveled, they remembered.
Visiting Arlington Cemetery and touring through there and seeing all of the tombstones going so far back, and then seeing the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard.
If you remember, we had all of the guys that were there on a trip where we were all over there together. And to watch those guys march, such precision. They told us, you watch the officer in charge of the group. He said, you watch him. When he goes by you, he'll dip that toe 3 times. You won't, and nobody else will ever notice it. And if I hadn't told you about it, you probably wouldn't notice it. But you watch for it. And sure enough, he made his turn there, and everything was so precise. And as he started out, he tipped that toe 3 times. That was impressive.
If you ask a soldier or a sailor or an air person, a military person, what is the most important time in your life? And it was mail call.
Arla Harold.
And you folks had that arranged, and I kept those letters and read them over and over.
Fought for the freedom we enjoy.
I had letters from my daughters and friends that I didn't have any idea knew I was going on this trip. So that was a great part of the experience.
We had a veteran that was an orphan, had grown up in an orphanage. And all the way through training, leading up to his engagement in World War II and during his service overseas, when they called mail call, he never got any mail. His name was never called because he had no family to send letters to. At 30,000 feet, coming home, his name was called on mail call. I've never seen anybody smile as big and cry as much at the same time as that man did. And he too said it was the highlight of his life. That's why we do this.
What really amazed me was, as the day went on, the veterans, the heroes on our flight, seemed to get younger. And they had more energy as the day went on. The Guardians were a little more tired as the day went on, but those who we were with seemed to become young boys by the end of the day. It was just fun to see things through their eyes and to feel their spirit and their energy. 80, 90-year-old men just, walking circles around us and just couldn't wait to see the next event and the next thing, because you knew that no matter how many times you've seen the World War II Memorial or the Vietnam Memorial, you see it for the first time through their eyes, and so it's brand new.
After landing in St. Louis, a late-night bus ride begins heading for home. Mid-Missouri heroes reflect on the day. Then from out of the darkness,
look at these motorcycles, folks. This is your escort back to Columbia.
We come from Columbia, we come from Mexico, we come from Fulton, Boonville, they come from the lake. I've had a couple from St. Louis. I've had one come all the way from Arkansas. We had a couple from Illinois, and I had one from Oklahoma. And we've had a few from Kansas City. When this honor flight takes place, we all come together as one and all have the same goal: honor those veterans on that bus and give them the rightful welcome home that they all deserve.
And then see the police not letting nobody get on the roads.
And then when we got down to the Marriott, my God, there were so many people. I have never seen such a mob in all my life.
But even that is not the end. The experience lingers, lives are changed, bad memories are replaced with good.
Thank you so much for your service. Thank you.
And the rest of the story unfolds.
Many of these veterans think that they're forgotten and not appreciated, and that's not the case.
That was the ditch that got filled. I'd never been publicly acknowledged and had the cheers, the little kids waving flags. Everybody that came home could have a band out there and so forth. And this was kind of the topper that was for me.
It's that brotherhood that they need to recapture. It's that fellowship that they need to engage in again.
One veteran told me that the honor flight made his life make sense. And when you think of a life of an 85, 90-year-old man and all that he's accomplished, and for him to make a statement like that, it made my life make sense. It makes you understand the magnitude of this experience for them. For many of them, this puts the period at the end of the sentence.
That trip out to the war memorials, and I said memorials because there's many of them, as you know, there, meant a lot to me. When I came to the war memorial with all of the stars on it, it was kind of the end of the story for me. I think that's, you know, I felt like that I was back in formation again with all of the people that were there. And I made it home, and they never.
And that, as they say, is the rest of the story.